It's midnight. You lie awake in bed, desperately wishing for sleep to whisk you away from the thundering storms outside. But each time you close your eyes, nightmarish creatures reach for you from the darkness. A tap at your bedroom window jolts you from whatever bit of sleep you manage. There's nothing but the rustling trees and the bright flash of lightning outside. Relieved, you lay down to rest once more. But once again, those terrifying hands reach for you in the darkness of sleep. You snap your eyes open. Only this time, the monster doesn't go away. Try to Fall Asleep is an indie horror game developed by AmberDrop Studios, currently in early release on Steam. Players journey through the fractured mind of John Heron, attempting to piece together the mystery of Pine Tree Island, the research base located there, and the nefarious plans of the sinister corporation known as Revival. While the game itself boasts a unique atmosphere, plenty of scares, and an interesting story built in, the lore is expanded upon by its companion alternate reality game on the YouTube channel simply known as Lucid. Lucid contains top-secret information from the Revival Corporation and spreads it online, adding to the lore presented in the game. Now, turn off the lights, close your eyes, and ignore the growling underneath your bed. After all, hallucinations can't hurt you. Before we can dive into the lore-expanding unfiction series, we must first uncover the mystery of Pine Tree Island and the sinister Revival Corporation and AmberDrop's Try to Fall Asleep. Mechanics-wise, the game is broken up into two separate gameplay styles. The first has players trying to fall asleep while contending with vivid hallucinations that threaten to scare protagonist John Heron into cardiac arrest. Once the player falls asleep, they enter into the dreaming section of the game, wherein they journey through the fractured memories leading up to John's accident. Night 1. John Heron, recovering from a horrible accident involving a building's destruction, suffers from both brain damage and recurrent hallucinations. These visions, taking the form of nightmarish entities, plague his unconscious mind. These monsters reach out to him whenever he closes his eyes, and manifest in short spurts whenever he opens them. John, with the help of his assigned companion AB, struggles to keep his stress under control, lest he suffer a stress-induced heart attack. However, after a tumultuous night, John finally slides into a deep sleep and begins to dream of the events leading up to his unfortunate accident. Early one morning, at an unspecified time in John's past, he's awoken by an alert at a research facility that has lost power.
There's been a power shortage in the research facility. Critical systems have been switched to run on backup power.
This facility, located on an island that John and a few others care for, houses a greenhouse with a dangerous substance inside.
Okay, Kate. Just got into the lab. So, what now?
Good. You should check out the power generator, the one that's near the water towers. It might be the reason for the whole power shortage throughout the facility.
The building itself has seen better days. Ancient and untouched equipment, seemingly from the early to mid-1990s, litter the empty offices. Old computers, lab equipment, and dire entries left by staff wait patiently for their owners to return. However, as John traverses the facility, he encounters terrifying creatures that run off into the night. Shadows at the end of a long hallway, footsteps echoing off dusty tiles, and shadow figures sprint at the player. Even as John begins repairing the broken generator, he's plunged through his memories in a twisted minigame format, running from a monster to a glowing exit, following flickering lights, and navigating through a crumbling underground facility in hopes of escaping. Despite all of these obstacles, John finds the missing fuses and repairs the generator. As the lights come back on and John rejoins Kate, he hears her screams in the distance.
Kate? Kate!
Then, John awakens.
All those damages can be easily
Night 1
cured.
introduces several recurring mechanics and gameplay styles to the player. Players must complete the sleeping section of the game before being allowed to traverse through the dreaming section. Small mini-games accompany this larger level, padding out the horror and the runtime. Along with this, Night 1 also sets the tone for the other nights to follow, as well as establishes the narrative's basis. For starters, the island itself used to be a flourishing vacation resort, but after a man killed several guests in an apparent killing spree, the revival company stepped in and bought the entire island, infrastructure included, in order to repurpose it as a secret research base. Ever since then, the island has been used for a variety of experiments and tests, including the TS-237 gas, mentioned by John and Kate, and its predecessor, TK-900. John, our protagonist, suffered from an accident that appears to have taken place inside the seemingly abandoned facility. He makes a few remarks about how dusty certain items are, how old much of the equipment is, and takes note of the many abandoned offices and unused laboratories inside the building. Additionally, we know that the revival company is responsible for both the research facility and John's own rehabilitation. John suffers from persistent hallucinations as a result of his brain trauma. The question becomes, how much of these hallucinations have leaked into the memories he dreams about? The minigames and the shadowy figures are likely candidates, but it begs the question, where do fact and fiction overlap? Are the monsters he glimpses simply figments of his imagination, or remnants of something terrifying he encountered on the island? A crack of lightning brightens the sky as AB talks to John. He congratulates John on a successful first night, and for not going insane. He assures him that a new lamp will arrive in the mail tomorrow, one not nearly as finicky as the current one, and advises John to hide under the blankets should a particularly vivid hallucination appear in his room. With that, John settles in for the night. Amidst the tapping on the windows, the figures appearing inside and outside of his bedroom, the television boots up. On screen is a strange infomercial for the revival company. Although difficult to see on account of the glare, it appears to showcase revival's technology, before cutting to a clip of a creature crawling towards the camera. Despite this, however, John eventually falls asleep. In this new memory, we are introduced to several key characters: Mark, Tom, Ethan, and Daisy, all of which assist John in locating Kate's killer. This confirms that the remaining offices inside the research facility all belong to these main cast of characters. While the building may not be fully in use anymore, John and his team are still working on stabilizing a gaseous substance known as TS-237 inside the building's greenhouse. Described as a ticking time bomb, John and his team work on containing it for as long as possible. Suddenly, someone escapes at the front doors of the building, and as John heads outside, he finds a note laying on the ground.
Is everything okay?
Either one of you is lying, or there is someone else on this island.
But John, it can't simply be one of us.
Yeah, Mark is right next to me. And Daisy is right next to me. It's impossible.
There's a note on the ground.
Picking up the note prompts John to follow a light, leading him around the island. The bridge, the island cottages, the beach cafe, the amphitheater, and the watchtower. Each note pieces together a tale between two unknown individuals, X1 and X2. The unnamed pair were sent to the island to test an unknown substance's effects, using John as their test subject. X2 killed Kate the night prior in an attempt to inject John with an unknown substance, but not before Kate injected X2 instead. X1 mentions the high dosage will eventually display extreme symptoms in X2. However, X2 states that they will instead become the killer John was supposed to become, hinting at the drug's mind-altering effects, and continues on with the plan of eliminating everyone still left on the island. As the drug's effects take hold, X2 becomes more erratic, impulsive, and brazen. To clear up any misunderstandings, the notes point towards Revival being responsible for the killing of the island's scientists, not some other party. This is done in an effort to, quote, get rid of these troublemakers from the company. But what is clear is Revival's commitment to snuffing them out. Eventually, John makes his way to the island's watchtower, finding the final note, and...
It's Mark. He's gone.
What? What happened?
I saw him fall from the watchtower.
That's it. We need to contact Revival as soon as possible.
Good evening, Mr. Harry.
Night 2 and its ensuing dream segment adds to John's status as an unreliable narrator.
Very well.
Given the already persistent hallucinations in his conscious state, his memories have become infested with these dark games, running from monsters, searching for an exit, following a light to another destination. It becomes difficult to discern what is fact and what is merely a figment of John's fractured mental state, and it appears that, as the nights continue and his hallucinations worsen, his dreaming state becomes more and more detached from reality, and the true series of events become distorted. Night 2 also brings with it confirmation that the Revival Corporation is behind the murder of Kate, and the now premeditated killing of the rest of the scientific research team on the island. Jumping back to Night 1, several diary entries found around the research facility point towards the reasons behind Revival's decision to kill off the team. For instance, in Tom's office, a diary entry reveals his involvement in dangerous projects pushed forwards by Revival. Although it brought him and the company fortune and wealth, he fears what else the company might be capable of. Due to this, he ponders whether or not to come forward publicly with his knowledge. Daisy's reads similarly, stating she would rather not be involved with the project, keep her hands clean, but wants to remain grateful for this opportunity given to her by her father. All this together must have led Revival to killing off the team in order to preserve whatever dark secrets they are keeping. However, despite the company's clear desire to kill off the scientific team, Revival continues to rehabilitate John. What their end goal may be is unclear, but it's possible that this nebulous corporation wants whatever information is inside John's head, or they are moving forwards with their plan of using him as a test subject. For what is, again, unclear. And finally, the presence of 2 murders on the island raises the stakes, and the question then becomes, who are the traitors among them?
Is everything okay?
Night 3 opens with a continuation of the first 2 scenes. After the explosion at the research facility on Pine Tree Island, John is carried away from the burning building. Then, Night 3 begins. AB greets the player as they load in. In addition to the enhanced difficulty of Night 3, a new lamp, this one significantly worse than the first, provides minimal protection against the dangers of John's hallucinations. With this, AB informs John that, while his memories are coming back, the traumatic events are only worsening John's mental state, and triggering far more frequent and vivid hallucinations. However, the player is offered sleeping pills to help alleviate John's stress. At one point in the night, the TV powers itself on. A video of a strange creature crawling towards the camera plays, similar to the one seen the previous night, before the TV cuts out. Eventually, after a few failed attempts, John manages to finally fall asleep. In the dead of night, John is awoken by a radio call from Daisy. Daisy claims that someone broke into her house, stood in her room, and watched her.
I'm here, Daisy. Daisy, talk to me.
Someone was in my house. He got in my room, but I pretended that I was asleep. Shortly after, he went away.
Did you manage to see who it was? Was it Ethan or Tom?
Sorry, I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. Wait, I see him outside my window. John, I think he's coming your way.
There, just outside the cottage, John spots it. A tall, burnt entity skulking along the shadows of the small village. After locking all of his windows and hiding, players watch as the creature breaks inside. Deciding it is safe, John exits his hiding spot and frantically searches for the others. Eventually, he makes his way to an open cabin. However, once he steps in, the door closes behind him, trapping him inside. A tape recorder sits on the table, as well as a list of instructions. A masked voice taunts John, forcing him to play a twisted game straight out of a Saw film. In 15 minutes, players must find a series of clues to unlock different doors in the cabin in order to escape. If he fails, both John and his friend Tom will die. After combing through a series of riddles, blacklight ciphers, hidden tubes and switches, John manages to make his escape.
Congratulations, Mr. Heron. You've succeeded. Now, can you hear those screams? You should probably make haste.
Unfortunately, he's too late to save Tom, if he ever had a chance. And like that, the dream ends. And yet, the hallucinations do not.
Greetings, Mr. Heron.
At a later point, John sits in an office with his assigned psychiatrist, Dr. Norberg. Norberg dismisses John's worries about his worsening condition, claiming that the vivid dreams and the rampant hallucinations are all part of the healing process. It's all about facing his fears. However, as Norberg continues on, something manifests behind him.
Your brain is... Mr. Heron? Mr. Heron, are you all right?
The death of Kate, Mark, and now Tom narrows down the list of suspects to the final two individuals left on the scientific team, Ethan and Daisy. Daisy's note from the first night, stating her reluctance to be involved and dirty her hands, takes on an entirely new meaning in the light of her involvement in the recent killings. At this point, it's unclear who of the pair was injected with the volatile drug, but what is clear is their penchant for toying with their prey. Rather than outright killing Tom, Mark, and John, one, or possibly both, appear to take enjoyment in prolonging their suffering, likely as a result of the drug. However, this also begs the question about what John might have really seen that night. Did he truly witness a massive creature stalking the cottage grounds? Or was it someone else, someone more human that is, that broke into his home that fateful night? One other important detail, the gas used in an attempt to kill John, and in the successful killing of Tom, seems to be the TS-237 gas mentioned earlier. Either this, or another gas known as TK900 that was mentioned on a note in Night 1. Green, highly volatile, and explosive. Their own research project used against them. Additionally, the introduction of this new creature, one unlike any of the others, signals a distinct change in John's mind. Whatever this new creature is, it continues to haunt John in both his waking and dreaming mind, appearing in the daylight, and with others around, to continue terrorizing him. Another vivid hallucination? Or something else entirely?
All right.
The fourth and final night, currently available in the early access. AB attempts to explain away the persistent hallucination of the tall, burned man, stating that the entity could be an amalgamation of John's trauma, or a byproduct of his other hallucinations, or something else entirely. However, embedded within AB's speech are distorted messages that are hard to decipher.
Might be able to check you out.
About 2 days. Let's see if you can get those ready still better, of course.
Just promise me that you won't give up and will. The info panel and I run on batteries. This will be your last night here. This to a rehabilitation.
If you have any thoughts to what AB is trying to say, leave a comment down below. After this, the night continues on. Along with the persistent hallucinations, the burnt man manifests repeatedly throughout the night. Flaking paint, swirling black energies, and the entity itself appears sporadically. The other hallucinations, namely the glowing identity, the half-man, half-machine, and new creatures, such as a mole-like man and a flashlight-wielding shadow figure, increasingly manifest, making this night the most difficult out of the 4. Additionally, AB will sporadically awake with his text-to-speech messages that are difficult to discern before shutting off. After falling asleep, the dreaming section continues on.
So Ethan and Daisy are behind it all.
Night 4's dreaming section takes place directly after the attack on Cottage Town and Tom's death. John recognizes Daisy and Ethan as the culprits of the entire ordeal and makes his way towards the watchtower in order to radio for help. Unfortunately, many of the parts are in disrepair, and while attempting to figure out what to do, he is radioed by Ethan and Daisy over Mark's discarded radio.
That might be Mark's radio.
John, please listen. It's all over. You don't have to be afraid of us anymore. We aren't going to hurt you. Our main goal is done here.
Keep blowing, Ethan. Both you and Daisy have done a really good job of it so far.
Listen, Daisy and I are both assigned for 2 things here. Eliminate the people who are dangerous.
Ethan again reiterates that their mission was to kill those deemed dangerous to revival. The how or why are never fully explained, and attempts to get John to comply with their wishes. After all, they needed him alive in order to test out Revival's new drug. However, due to Kate's injecting Daisy with this unspecified and untested drug, Daisy has begun to display more aggression, sadistic traits, and has become far more erratic.
Yeah, you'll do this or you'll do that. I'm sick of your lies and games. Good luck, Ethan. Have fun with Daisy.
In order to find the parts for the radio, John heads down into Revival's secret underground facility. This structure existed alongside the former vacation resort for quite some time, before being altogether abandoned. Snaking down crumbling infrastructure, John makes his way down into the facility.
The power is out. I should try to restore it somehow.
John makes his way towards the generator room and powers up the lights and security doors. However, along with the power, other entities lying dormant inside the forgotten structure awaken as well. A shadow figure materializes around the facility and guides John to a variety of messages left behind by Michael O'Correll that reveals the fate of the facility. After beginning his search for Michael's remaining notes and for the required radio parts, John must navigate the maze-like building while also avoiding creatures roaming around in the dark. Along with grabbing the parts and finding Michael's notes, players must also complete familiar minigames in order to progress in the level. Eventually, John collects all of the ribbon parts and pieces together the mystery of the underground facility.
That's the last one. Time to get the hell out of here.
According to Michael, the research conducted underneath the resort had to do with curing people of mental illness. However, the test subjects began to show enhanced aggression and sadistic tendencies, and after one of the subjects escaped and killed several tourists topside, the entire operation was shut down. Rather than move the scientists elsewhere, Revival instead sealed up the underground facility with their employees and their test subjects still inside. A method of erasing any and all evidence that could link Revival to the incident. Michael and the other scientists struggled for a time to come to terms with this situation. Unable to break through the vault door outside, the team made the decision to let their subjects starve to death in order to preserve their rations. In the end, though, all would wind up perishing, Michael included, who threw himself off the reactor's balcony to his death. Players find the final part needed for the radio and ascend from the bunker. John escapes back through the crumbling infrastructure to the surface, only to close the door on Ethan, who was apparently down in the facility along with John the entire time. After their conversation, John heads straight to the watchtower, repairs the radio, and sends out a distress call.
This is Pine Tree Island. Does anyone copy? Hello, this is Pine Tree Island. Does anyone read me? Is anyone out there? Anyone! Please, this is an emergency! Huh? What's this?
In response, Revival sends back an emergency alert signal and states they will be arriving shortly.
Attention, this is Revival's emergency system. Your emergency transmission was already sent. Revival is aware of the situation. Please do not broadcast this signal again. An evacuation transport is on its way. This radio equipment will self-destruct in 3, 2, 1.
No. No.
Daisy then radios along with Ethan, and both note that John must now be killed. However, the two begin to argue, and the situation quickly changes.
And to admit, you two make a really good team, despite the fact that one of you is trying to turn against the other. Isn't it right, Ethan?
What's he talking about?
What an act, John. Don't listen to that liar. He's trying to divide us and create a diversion.
Is this true?
What? No, of course not. You really believe that nonsense he's spitting out? Give me a break. Shut up! Daisy, let's not waste our time with this. If we want to kill him, we have to do it before they arrive. Daisy?
You didn't have faith in me?
What? No. I have faith in you. I've always had faith in you.
You got scared, and you lost faith in me.
That's not true.
Your actions speak otherwise. I see. That's why you didn't kill him down there right away. It all makes sense now.
Daisy, please. Think about this.
I'm in charge, you understand me? I fight for myself, and I will not let anyone push me aside ever again. Ever! Those who do, stand in my way and let me move down.
John wakes up once more in his bedroom. However, as he stands and prepares himself for the day, the burnt man stands behind him, more vivid and menacing than ever. And that concludes the story so far for AmberDrop's Try to Fall Asleep. Night 4 brought with it startling revelations, horrifying hallucinations, and a more complex mystery to the true purpose of Pine Tree Island. Let's start from the top. In the sleeping section, AB's distorted messages are difficult to make out, but appear to be taunting John and his attempts at healing.
Promise me that you won't give up and will... Both Hannah and I run on battery.
The first two are difficult to make out with a variety of glitches, but the final two are clear.
This will be your last night here. This to rehabilitation. Nice to be there. Okay.
These messages could be 1. Byproducts of John's damaged state, hallucinating AB saying certain phrases. 2. AB receiving damage at some point in time and glitching out. Or 3. Intentional messages left by Revival in order to further damage John's state of mind. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. According to the notes found scattered around the abandoned facility, Revival used the island long before their public acquisition. Deep beneath the island, researchers attempted to cure mental illnesses, but instead created a drug that induced aggression, removed inhibition, and brought on homicidal tendencies in those injected with it. One of these patients broke free and made their way above ground, killing several tourists as a result. Revival responded by shutting down the resort and sealing off the research bunker. This company left their scientists and their subjects to starve to death down in the dark, choosing to wipe the slate clean and remove any link to the murders. What's worse, a sign found in the game points towards these test subjects being former employees who have betrayed or wronged the company in some way, much like the characters we are witnessing being picked off one by one. Sometime after, Revival publicly bought the island and repurposed it for another secret research facility, this one aiming at creating some kind of gas known as TS-237. Whether this is a biological weapon or serves some other purpose is unclear. John, Kate, Mark, Tom, Ethan, and Daisy are assigned to this project, though Ethan and Daisy arrive with the express purpose of eliminating the other scientists. Given Revival's track record of eliminating those who might potentially reveal corporation secrets, it's no surprise they desire to kill off the scientific team for questioning the company, and their desire to inform the public of Revival's actions. The person who left behind the notes, Michael Ocarell, also appears to be the same shadow figure haunting John. The shadow man sprinting up behind John to the figure appearing in the Try to Fall Asleep sections to appearing at key locations inside the underground facility. Why the figure continues to haunt John or why John continues to hallucinate about Michael is unclear at this point. Next, the question has to be asked about what John actually experienced underground. We've already established his state as an unreliable narrator, so what specifically was hallucination and what truly occurred? After all, once John makes it above ground, instead of closing the door on the monster he believed to be chasing him, he instead closes it on Ethan, who was down in the dark with him the entire time. Speaking of Ethan, it appears the drug's effect on Daisy has reached a boiling point, and she executes Ethan out of fear of him betraying her. And with that, the story has reached a pausing point until the full release of the game. 2 more full nights will conclude the story of Try to Fall Asleep, but until then, we have the alternate reality game to pan out the world of AmberDrop's game. As one note before we move on, those hallucinations and monsters we witnessed terrorizing John, they are real. Found around the facility on Night 1, players can encounter strange informational documents posted on bulletin boards, each revealing key information about the horrors found in John's subconscious, and revealed in detail on Lucid's channel. Lucid is a YouTube channel working in tandem with the game's lore. The 3 videos posted by an individual known as Lucid reveals content held in Revival's video archive. On each, terrifying monstrosities are put on display, each created or utilized by the Revival Corporation for their own gain. What is interesting to note is the name Lucid itself. In psychology, the term is defined as of a dream, experience with the dreamer feeling awake, aware of dreaming, and able to control events consciously, continuing with the motif of dreams and a dreaming state. On July 8th, 2023, Lucid livestreamed the first video he recovered from the Revival archives through an inside man within the corporation. Lucid notes that Revival is a dangerous corporation, and the only safe way to ensure the video makes it out to the public is through livestream. And with that, he loads up the first tape and guides us through a horrifying project known as Project Mergs. A genetically engineered carnivore, Mergs was designed to protect agricultural lands while eliminating wildlife that may be harmful to it. In effect, it is an apex predator in every sense of the word, strong, agile, enhanced senses, and highly effective at hunting its prey. Unfortunately, due to some mistreatment, the creature escaped from captivity and escaped into the wilds.
The workers in the RC-17 facility failed to detain the creature, resulting in 5 casualties during the creature's escape. The following material is a radio distress call from one of the project participants.
RC-17, our alarm system just went off. What's going on over there? We've been attacked by Berg. He's trying to escape. What happened? Someone traded the creature and now he's attacking us. Stay calm. The emergency protocol has been initialized. Are there any casualties? 3 dead. 1 badly injured. Understood. Do not let him escape. You must contain him at all costs. Do you read me? Ace, this is the... We can confirm that Mergs has escaped. I repeat, Mergs has escaped. 3 of our personnel are dead and 2 are in critical condition. The creature went inside the forest to eastern our location. Send in an emergency brigade immediately.
The following is a video captured by a 17-year-old who encountered Mergs.
Видел какого-то зверя, дико странного. Похож на помесь, блядь, медведя. С каким-то... Что за... Эй! Кто там? Блядь. Тропинка. Раньше тут не было. Где ты? Я иду! Эй! Эй! Что случилось? А?
The victim's body was discovered by the emergency brigade. The extensive damage to the face and body made it impossible to identify the victim. However, a 17-year-old was reported missing around the same time as the incident, leading to the confirmation of the victim's identity. After a 3-day-long search, the creature's whereabouts were finally discovered. It was planned to be captured, but because of the aforementioned victim, it was decided to eliminate the creature instead.
Okay, that was quite something. I knew that Revival was involved in some shady things, but this is on a whole other level. I think we'll need to get another one of these tapes. Tell you what, let's do another stream next week, and I'll try to get a hold of another tape by then. It's about time we revealed some of Revival's darkest secrets. Anyways, that'll be it for me today, so look forward to the next stream. Also, please consider sharing this around. The more people know, the better. And, thank you for watching.
The first video alone shatters whatever preconceptions we may have had in regards to what Try to Fall Asleep established. The creatures John has been hallucinating are far more than aberrations stemming from his crippled psyche, but are real creatures that existed at one point in time. Not only this, but, at least in the case of Project Mergs, these entities have been killed at some point in time. Given that these projects are secrets even within the company, I can only assume that John's hallucinations stem from past involvement in these projects. Even Tom's note, mentioned in Night 1, might indicate that each member of the research team had some involvement in the creation, containment, or capture of these entities. Additionally, the final scene of Merg seems to indicate the possibility that the creature is still alive. If this is truly the case, it throws John's status as an unreliable narrator through a loop once more. How much was created from his mind? How much actually happened? Did he see Project Mergs on the first night, or was this simply a byproduct of his brain damage? Did these entities exist on the island? Or is John's own guilt in being a part of these projects manifesting inside his memories? Next, who exactly is Lucid? How did he get a hold of these videotapes we're now seeing uploaded? And will Lucid play a larger role in the future? A Reddit post made by Lucid's friend reveals that he was tasked with digitizing Revival's analog archives, but decided to steal some of the tapes for himself in order to reveal the company's dark secrets. And as one final note, in Latvian, Mergs translates into English as nightmare. Like with Tape 1, Tape 2 is broadcasted live through a YouTube livestream hosted by Lucid. This time around, Lucid loads up a tape known as the Copper Incident, revolving around a Project Copper created by Revival. However, unlike Mergs, which was a genetically engineered apex predator, Copper is a cybernetically enhanced, decommissioned soldier. This project aimed at increasing the soldier's physical capabilities and to test the current limitations of cybernetic technologies. Simply put, Project Copper is a primitive, far more hostile version of RoboCop. Copper was previously held in a facility known as RA-1, but due to the crumbling infrastructure, the facility was slowly closed down and operations transferred to a new building. However, Copper was never finalized, and in keeping with their project secrecy, Revival decided to clean their hands of the project. Copper was meant to die when the building was demolished. This, however, did not yield the results Revival was looking for. What follows is documentation of Copper's mental breakdown and subsequent escape.
After the breakout, employee ID 12758 was ordered to follow Subject Copper, document its mental condition, and relay intel to the emergency brigade. The following video footage was recovered from his digital camera.
Okay. My name is ID number 12758. The situation is as follows. The subject's Hopper has broken out of his cell and is currently roaming around the research complex. The emergency brigade has been notified, but before they arrive, I must track him and document his mental condition. Currently, the subject is producing sharp screams with quick breaths in between. He could be in a state of shock. The shouting is way more pronounced now. He's letting out his anger on surrounding things. The tunnel. The door is open. Shit. Mostly incoherent noises, but some of the shouts do sound a lot like calls for help. Sounds like he's crying right now. This is 12758. Yes. He's headed towards the D section of the complex.
Understood. Stay sharp. Over.
Subject Copper was eventually tracked down by the emergency brigade. While trying to escape, Copper attacked the brigade, heavily wounding 2 men. Afterwards, the emergency brigade maneuvered the subject into a dead end. With no way to escape, Subject Copper committed suicide by tearing out one of his main arterial blood vessels. Employee ID 12758's body was located nearby Copper's final location, with his head crushed against the wall. The presence of the emergency brigade in the complex did raise some questions, but the situation was swiftly resolved and the general public was not made aware of the incident. Copper's and 12758's remains were discreetly and securely transported out of the complex, along with the rubble.
Damn, I think this one's been the most disturbing one yet. Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to get one more tape and that'll be it. Sorry, but I kinda wanna stop at 3. By now, Revival has definitely started to suspect something, so I should probably start to wind things down. I don't even know if I want to see what's on the next tape, but I hope these 2 tapes were worth it, though. Thanks for tuning in. See you one last time next week.
Like with Project Mergs, Copper appears to have been killed, but the final few frames of the recording seems to hint at its survival. Whether or not Copper truly appeared on Pine Tree Island with John is up for debate. The tape also further solidifies Revival's continued commitment to secrecy by any means necessary, covering up civilian casualties, killing staff and scientists, demolishing entire buildings, and even destroying their own projects in an effort to keep their actions secret. Copper also solidifies Revival's willingness and desire to test on humans, whether this be for cybernetic enhancements, for testing out drugs without going through clinical trials, or using gases in horrid ways. Revival sidesteps ethics and morality altogether to get what they want. The third and final tape. The livestream begins with Lucid in a panic. He claims getting this tape felt off, and he feels he may be in danger. He quickly loads up the VHS, presses play, and hopes the livestream doesn't get interrupted by Revival. And with that, the Osore discovery begins. This tape revolves around another entity, this one discovered by Revival themselves, and its subsequent documentation. Osore was a research study focused on a human-sized mole rat-like creature that was the last of its species, located on an island known as 0785. What follows is the first team sent to 0785, searching for highly coveted plants and entirely unaware of the creature's existence.
Es pafilmēšu nedaudz. Beidzot, kā man pielietot? Jā, paņēmu līdzi, te jau jāizmanto. Bieži vien salas, kuras mēs apmeklējam, diezgan skopas informācijas ziņā. Līdz ar to mums uzdeva izlūkot arī pašu salu. Varbūt mūsu centieni atmaksāsies un atradīsies kaut kas jauns. Varbūt neko jaunu neatradīsim. Uz to pusi vajadzētu būt zemē, ar kur šī sala kādreiz bija savienota. Bet, izmantojot savu kameru, es nevaru saskatīt krastu. Tā, abi. Es domāju, šī būs laba vieta. Tad mēs atdalāmies un ejam aplūkot katru savu teritoriju. Paliekam tādā attālumā, lai mēs viens otru varam sasaukt. Labi. Un, ja kaut ko atrodat, saucat. Aidā. Mums tā kā teica, ka te nebūs dzīvnieki. Nekas, būs laikam jāuzmanās nedaudz. Es neko neatradu. Ieej mazliet dziļāk mežā. Es arī neko neatradu. Ejam. Aigar! Aigar! Help, dzirdēji? Jā, nekur tālu neaizej. Es aiziešu uz Aigaru pusi. Nē, gan jau būs labi. Aigaram šeit ir tāds niķis iedziļināties darbā. Nu, ja kas, es tev pasaukšu. Aigar, ko tu varētu vienreiz atsaukties? Aigar? Aigar! Aigar, tu man dzirdi? Pulsa nav. Viens tur! Jāni, kas notiek? Es skrienu! Jāni, kur tu esi? Jāni, Jāni!
When the headquarters failed to establish a contact with the researchers, the emergency brigade was sent to the location. The remains of the researchers were eventually discovered, but nothing more than torn clothing and severely bruised bones were left. The emergency brigade successfully evacuated the island after securing the remains and retrieving the camera. While they did observe the monster, it did not approach them and maintained a safe distance. The creature, subsequently named Osor, was the subject of a capture operation in the following months of its discovery. The capture of Osor has been documented on tape.
Unlike the other two videos, tape number 3 begins with Lucid frantically starting the stream, concerned that Revival will be taking action soon. Given the abrupt end to the stream, it appears he was correct. Following the last livestream, the channel's About section was updated to read the following. This channel is no longer hosted by the original uploader. There was an attempt on Lucid's life during the last livestream, and someone tried to delete the channel afterwards. Lucid entrusted the channel to me in case something bad would happen. So as soon as the last livestream got interrupted, I immediately changed the channel's password and logged everyone out of the account. The videos are safe for now, but I'm not sure for how much longer the channel will stay up. So, please spread the word and consider archiving the 3 tapes yourselves as well. As of the making of this video, there has been no indication as to the fate of Lucid, nor indication if he will be at all involved in the story of trying to fall asleep in the future. As for Project Osore, the name is pulled from Japanese, roughly translated as dread or fear in English. Unlike the previous 2 projects, the Osore creature was discovered purely by accident and not created by Revival itself. And unlike Margs and Copper, the fate of Osore can only be uncovered in the game itself. A bulletin listing found inside the research facility reveals that Osore died not long after its capture due to its inability to adapt to Revival's enclosure. Outside of the 3 videos posted, a live stream was hosted on Lucid's channel on August 2nd, 2023. The live stream features reruns of the same 3 videos, Project Mergs, Copper, and Osore. However, between each tape are a series of letters. Put together, whoever played the live stream left the message, "The Representative." As of right now, I have no idea as to who or what this could be referencing. A person within Revival itself, some other entity entirely. Perhaps we'll find out if Lucid ever posts again, or when Try to Fall Asleep launches at its full release. Let's start at the beginning. A company known as Revival, a corporation that conducts illegal, unethical, and immoral, and highly dangerous experiments and projects, creates a secret underground facility beneath an island. Up top, a resort is opened in order to hide the facility in plain sight. Down below, researchers conduct experiments on test subjects while searching for a cure for mental illnesses. Unfortunately, the team only succeeds in creating a highly volatile drug that induces homicidal tendencies and those injected with it. As a result, an unnamed test subject breaks free from containment and makes his way above ground. He kills 6 tourists in his rage. Due to this, the Pine Tree Island Resort slowly dies away, and Revival steps in to publicly buy the land. The underground facility is sealed shut, with the research team and test subjects still inside, leaving them to starve to death in the dark. While this is occurring, several new projects are put into action. Project Mergs, which sought to create a genetically engineered predator to help protect agricultural lands. Project Copper, which sought to push the limitations of cybernetic enhancements. And Project Osore, which sought to capture and study a dangerous small rat-like creature found on an island. Several of these projects resulted in casualties and the apparent elimination of both Mergs and Copper, along with the gradual death of Osore due to being removed from its natural ecosystem. Not long after the closure of the underground facility, the second research facility was opened up on the island. This one, housing a botanical garden, aimed at creating some kind of volatile gas. Both TK-900 and TS-237 are mentioned, each being incredibly dangerous, noxious, and overall deadly. Revival created a team of John, Mark, Tom, Kate, Ethan, and Daisy in order to continue work on the project, each having some kind of former involvement with Revival's other projects, including the projects involving the deadly creatures mentioned earlier. However, unknown to the first 4, each has been sent to this island in order to be killed and tested on. This is due to their perceived troublemaking ways inside the corporation. Notes found inside the building hint towards each member wanting to go public in some way with information on Revival's dark secrets. Ethan and Daisy are tasked with injecting John Heron with the same mental illness-curing drug created previously. This is done in hopes of further studying his behavior, while also eliminating perceived threats to the company. However, this plan goes awry when a dying Kate inadvertently injects Daisy with the drug. This then leads to an increasingly escalating situation, resulting in Daisy's mental state rapidly deteriorating. She throws Mark off the watchtower, traps John inside a house playing a twisted game in order to escape, and pumps volatile fumes into Tom's cabin before igniting the gas. Following the revelation of Ethan and Daisy's treachery, John descends into the underground facility in order to retrieve radio parts so that he might radio for help. While underground, he uncovers the fate of the scientific team. After making his way back up to the watchtower, John receives a transmission from Revival, letting him know the corporation was on its way. Meanwhile, the deteriorating partnership between Ethan and Daisy leads to Daisy shooting and killing Ethan. What happens next is unclear. Sometime after this entire ordeal, the research facility is destroyed, likely due to the gases inside the greenhouse. John is retrieved by Revival, but not before suffering from extensive injuries and brain damage. As a result, John is assigned a companion, AB, in order to help him heal, to help him overcome the vivid hallucinations brought on by his trauma, and to recall his memories from the previous few nights. The more he recalls, however, the more a tall, burnt entity, begins to haunt his dreaming and waking mind. And there, John's story ends. For now. Many years later, an inside man within Revival begins a live-streaming archival tapes, revealing the many creatures Revival had a hand in creating or capturing. However, not long after his leaks began, Lucid vanished, with the only clue left behind being a reference to a person or entity known only as the Representative. Numerous unanswered questions still linger in regards to the creatures, the exact fate of John, and the happenings on Pine Tree Island. The most obvious question lies in the events leading up to the facility's explosion, though this will likely be revealed in the full release of the game. Outside of this, the first question is in regards to the Burnt Man. It's clear that the other creatures existed at one point in time, but the Burnt Man is an entity all its own, and one that does not have a tape on Lucid's channel. Is it truly an amalgamation of John's traumas manifesting as vivid hallucinations, or is it something else entirely? A remnant of a real creature John fought against, or something more supernatural in nature? A part of me wonders if this entity existed as well, as some kind of in-game mutation for the drug injected into Daisy. Nights 5 and 6 will reveal this in due time. This begs the next question. What parts of John's memories are affected by his mental state, and what parts actually happened? It's likely the minigame portions, such as following the light or finding the exit, are hallucinated episodes that did not actually occur in John's real history. But what about his interactions with the creatures and his memories? Did he truly see Mergs inside the facility? Or Sorde in the underground facility? Or are those simply a collection of false memories brought on by his trauma? Did John have previous interactions with these entities through working on the projects? Or are they simply manifestations of the informational flyers posted around the facility? Why is Revival, a company notorious for killing its own employees to keep their secrets hidden, allowing John to walk free despite how much he knows? Next, why does John continuously have visions of Michael's ghost around the island? This could realistically simply be a method of conveying story and providing a few scares, but it does beg the question on why John hallucinates so vividly about him in both the waking and dreaming sections. Lastly, in regards to the companion alternate reality game, who exactly is the Representative? What role do they play in the story? And when will their presence be revealed outside of the August 2nd livestream? Try to Fall Asleep presents a unique take on the point-and-click survival horror subgenre. The waking and dreaming sections offset one another and provide a refreshing experience with each subsequent night. The horror elements are well crafted, utilizing more simplistic methods of employing horror, while not relying too heavily on jump scares to achieve this effect. The sounds of footsteps are rapidly approaching from behind, of growling growing ever closer to the player, of horrifying figures stalking the player in the darkness of night. All of these combine together to create a truly terrifying and engrossing gameplay experience. The combination of the video game and the alternate reality game add to John's position as an unreliable narrator. Yes, these creatures were real within the game's world, but how much of what John witnessed can truly be chalked up to hallucinations and false memories? The slow feeding of lore to the player over the course of the first 4 nights also helps to establish the underlying ambiance of horror in the game's world, of Revival's willingness to do whatever is necessary to keep their secrets hidden, and of the terrors locked away on Pine Tree Island. While there may be many unanswered questions left, AmberDrop plans on completing the story with a 5th and 6th night. If you're wanting to play the game yourself, find Try to Fall Asleep in early access on Steam. There is also a Kickstarter up and running to fund the rest of the game's completion that you can find here. You can also view my own playthrough of the first 4 nights over on SinisterHeart Gaming. As a final note, a shout out and thank you to AmberDrop for the amazing game, the stylized analog horror series, and the engrossing story. Thank you all for watching.